Alrighty, so with the 2022-23 season upon us, we've begun designing our new car, hopefully, for the 2023 Solar Car Challenge from Fort Worth, Texas to Palmdale, California. And in this challenge, we're going to be making a few key changes. So as most of you know, if you've been following, last year we built a car that used about 8 square meters of solar area because we were adhering to the Solar Car Challenge rules, which was at the high school level. But for the new year, we're looking at actually building a car that uses 4 square meters of solar area with a different design. We're going with a bullet instead of a catamaran style as we've seen before. With the new design, we're hoping to achieve a lower aerodynamic drag as well as just a more efficient car in general. But because we're going to be cutting our solar area down from 8 to 4 square meters, everything essentially has to be 2 times better. So whether that be weight, whether that be aerodynamic efficiency, whether that be rolling resistance, all of those have to be reduced. So with that all in mind, we're almost finished designing the car. The suspension is almost there, most of the framework is done, and kind of our process moving forward is basically there. So right now we're working on water jetting our initial mock pit design, and hopefully if that passes what we need it to do, we can move them to the actual car with our carbon paneling, where we will actually use fiberglass tape to adhere carbon boards together to create our main chassis, and then we will have a mold where we will lay up the outside aerodynamic shell. After all that's done, hopefully, then we'll move into the electrical work, and by around May or June, we should have a finished car ready for testing.
Okay, yeah, so first we've been testing the original batteries from last year because we want to eventually compare the new possible batteries that we got and the batteries from last year to see which ones we might end up wanting to use. So I've been testing battery cells for the new batteries recently. There's 5 different kinds specifically, and we're planning on running 5 tests for each. So at the moment, we've only gotten through the first couple batteries, but hopefully within the next few weeks we should have data for all of them and we should be able to compare. We've been running temperature tests to see how the temperature of the batteries or the environment surrounding the batteries might affect the energy discharge of the batteries. We're not sure if it does at the moment, but as the environment where I'm testing currently is different than the shop, if that is a factor that affects the battery discharge, we'll know. We don't really know this at the moment because we haven't decided on which batteries we're going to use. So depending on the battery cells we end up choosing, that'll affect, I think, the size and then the dimensions of the battery cell arrangement. As one of the batteries we're testing actually is larger than the other ones we're testing, if we ended up going with those battery cells, then the design would probably be somewhat different than if we were going with the other battery cells. Of course, for each of them, yeah, it could change. I'm not entirely sure. I know that once we're done testing the new batteries, we do want to probably start designing the actual battery box. I'm hoping again to get the rest of the testing for the new battery cells or the possible battery cells done within the next few weeks so that we're able to then just compare the data and then just start working.
So this year, since we're creating a new car, we are going to have to create an entirely new solar array. And as the car that we're making will have half the solar area, both for aerodynamics and to conform to the rules of the ASC as well, we're only going to have 4 square meters of solar area. So what that means for us is that we're going to have to make sure that we are making these perfectly and that we're having the maximum output that we possibly can.
What have you been up to with the solar panels this last month?
I would say teaching, but more likely I've been having other people teach people how to solder. So right now I've been teaching some lovely new members how to solder solar panels together, as I need to create a team that will do that, as it is a lot of work for one person to undertake. As far as on my side, besides teaching them, I have been working on the design for the new panels, arranging it and such, placing where I'll put bypass diodes and how I'll wire stuff. Yeah.
So I'm Hagen, and essentially what Atticus and I have been doing is we've been working on this progressive steering system. And basically what it is when you're driving fast, like say you're driving on a highway 50, 60 miles per hour, we want our steering to not be too sensitive so that we're not going to be swerving all over the road. But when we slow down and need to make those tighter turns, what we found with the old car is we need to go and we need to turn the wheel a bunch of times. So the idea with this is that we would only need to turn the wheel 1.5 times to make those tighter turns. Unfortunately, what we found is that this design that we've been currently working on is just too big to fit in the current car, and it needs like significant improvements. But that's something that we might come back to next year. I think for this year we'll probably go back to the same rack and pinion model that we used last year, but this is definitely something to come back to in the future.
I've been working with our electrical team on updating our electrical schematic from last year. So we've been experimenting with a couple different ideas, and yeah. Well, we're still sort of in the beginning phases. We haven't started like the physical electrical system. We're still in the design process. So yeah. Well, I honestly don't have a lot of thoughts about the new car. We're honestly still pretty early in its development, so we're just starting to get ready with like our mechanical systems and our structural systems, so we'll just have to see.